Come sit right here, tell me everything. Start from the beginning. Let it all pour out. I will catch your story in my wings. This is the beginning.
A special thank you to Shannon Curtis, singer-songwriter, for your song I Know as the theme song for Tea Time, a Couple Loving Kindness podcast series. It's always a joy having it playing here at Tea Time, and we look forward to it spreading joy and love to more hearts around the world. Thank you, Shannon.
Okay, cool.
That's okay. I can get out my jitters. That's good.
Nice little warm up, yeah.
Round two. Thank you for being patient.
Oh, of course.
I'll try not to be a rambly, like fast moving.
Hey, you just do what you got to do. It's okay. I'm on no time limit right now.
Is it too loud over on your end?
No.
Okay.
No. Does it sound good on your end? Because I am listening to you on some speakers, so I know sometimes that can clash.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Okay, cool.
All the way from the ridge in High Ridge, Missouri, this is Huggy Kindness, a loving kindness fairy, and your star of this Tea Time, a Couple Loving Kindness podcast series at Huggy Kindness Studio in Loving Kindness Land, a community garden where we can step into the light and really be witness for the radiance of which we are. Everyone, we have a very wholesome guest star on today's show. Jacob has been a musician for a little over 15 years and became a meditative musician in 2022. And he is here today to share some of his journey, his life experiences, and his music that has really inspired the steps that he takes. Dear Jacob, thank you for joining us today. It's truly an amazing gift having you here, and for me to have this opportunity to say thank you for you. We have been friends on social media for a little while, and recently I listened to some of your music on Spotify, and I was just blown away at how calming of an experience and an aura that was created for me when I tuned in. With living with mental health and bipolar disorder, and often having these very intense emotional experiences, it's often really great having pieces of music like this that can help soothe my soul and help me move through those challenging moments in life. And I just want to say thank you for that. It's very powerful and very, very meaningful. So Jacob, can you share your journey in discovering your passion for music as a healing piece of our diet? And what has you getting up each day wanting to practice these modalities and really share them with others?
Thank you for having me on your show, Huggy.
Yes.
Music, wow. It's been a part of my life since the beginning, really. I've been practicing and studying for the last 15 years. And as far as like music for meditation type of stuff, I've only been doing this for the last couple of years.
Right.
I've always as a kid, when I'd play with my action figures and stuff, I'd always have like music that I would start playing in my head and singing out loud. And there's been like a little bit of music through the family. Like my grandma had an organ that she would sit me at when I was really young. My dad played like harmonica and guitar, and my mom played flute. My brother also played music, and I shared a room with him for most of my life, until I became an adult. And yeah, it's just always been such a profound experience for me. I can't always quite place what it is, but there's just it's everywhere. I mean, you watch a movie, there's music. You listen to the radio, it's music. You're doing a workout, you're probably going to want to listen to music. You're eating dinner, you're cooking dinner, you're probably going to want to listen to music. You go shopping at the grocery store, I mean, it's everywhere. Even when you're walking in nature and you're not listening to music, there's still the music. Birds are playing music, they're singing, the trees, the wind blowing through the trees. So yeah, it's always been a part of my life. And through my recent studies during the pandemic, I started studying kind of like the therapeutic uses of music, because I've been playing I've been playing live around town. I'm like 31 now. I've been playing live around town since I was about like 18.
Okay.
And so it's been fun for like the entertainment aspect, but you know, there's always been something more, I don't know, to say like spiritual about it. It's kind of hard to
Yeah.
place. You know, it's like when you're playing a show and then all of a sudden you come out of your body and you're like watching yourself from the corner of the room. You're kind of thinking like, whoa, what's going on here? You
That's awesome.
know? Yeah. And so I started studying more about like, how did ancient cultures use music? You know, because for these past couple hundred years, we've been using music as like a source of entertainment or to, you know, get you to shop for something, you know, or whatever. And back in the ancient cultures, it was used for like for healing. It was used to build stuff. I mean, they're starting to come out documentaries now where they're using sound to like levitate things, you know? And so it's like we're getting a whole nother grasp of like music and sound is something that's way more potent than something you just listen to. It's, you know, we are waves interacting with waves and frequencies. And so the type of music you listen to can greatly affect your mood and your demeanor. And it's just a very interesting thing to like draw awareness to now.
Yeah, that's cool. I know that you brought up this, entertainment aspect of music and how we tend to do that, um, or that's kind of like the default that we've become accustomed to in our culture, at least here in the United States. So, Jacob, you kind of alluded to this, where this entertainment aspect of music has become something that we are accustomed to in our culture, at least here in the United States. And I wanted to see if you could speak a little bit more to this about this, incorporating music into our diet as a healing practice or as
Mm.
just something that's a part of our everyday, knowing the benefits that you've learned so far in this year of what meditative music can do for individuals.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it's really wild. You know, it's like you can experience this yourself. You know, have a little experiment. Maybe, you know, have a diet of heavy metal music next week, and then
Okay.
just pay attention to how you feel that whole week when you're listening to heavy metal music, and
Okay.
then you know the next week switch that diet and listen to just like slow droning meditative music, and then see how you feel about
Okay.
it. You know, there's
That's
some
cool.
great pioneers of the field like Sherry Edwards is a really great one. She was, I think she was living in the woods. She was like born somewhere kind of in nature a little bit, and she had an accident I think when she was 12, and she
Okay.
almost drowned in a river, which caused her cochleas in her ears to tighten up, which
Okay.
then allowed her to hear frequencies that we most normally wouldn't hear. And so, with her experimentation of hearing these different frequencies, like she was able to hear stuff emanating from the earth, and
Okay.
she was able to hear stuff emanating from people. And because she could hear it, she can match it with her own voice, almost like she can make a perfect sine wave, essentially. And she
That's
could
so
figure
cool.
out that she could like phase cancel stuff, essentially. Like she has crazy stories, and people that have met her as well. Like, just literally, like she was swimming with her daughter one time and they were like swinging off this rock, and I think her daughter went into the shallow end and kind of busted her leg open as
Okay.
blood was crying, blood was going everywhere. Her daughter was crying, and she was saying that she could hear the frequency emanating from her wound, and she could, if she sang that frequency, then her daughter would stop crying and she would stop bleeding. But she had to maintain that frequency the entire time. The moment she stopped singing that frequency, her daughter would start bleeding and crying again.
Wow.
And so it's like, what do you say to stuff like that? You know, when you read stories like that, I mean, obviously I
Yeah.
wasn't there, so I don't know exactly how it went down, but
I
I'm
mean,
sure if I was to like talk to her or her daughter, she'd be like, yeah, that happened.
I guess it's always so funny to me, like how baffled I am by the magic of it because it's something I believe in. I believe in all these magical healing, you know, miraculous stories, but
Mm,
I feel like in my heart space that they're just a part of every day, like they're here. But I feel like because of how Western medicine has, just become this I don't even know the words, but you know, this force, it makes it hard for people to believe that there's that magic there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, unfortunately, there's, we live in an economy that's based on money. And
Yeah.
so there's not a lot of money when you tell someone, hey, you're not feeling well, so how about you just go home and hum for five
Yeah.
minutes? It's completely
Yeah.
free. You don't have to pay me anything. There's no prescription. It's
Right.
not like an addictive substance that you're going to need to keep coming back to me for. It's something that you can do yourself anytime you want, and it's very beneficial for you.
Yeah,
They
like
wouldn't
how
even,
beautiful would the world be if it was free? Like that we lived communally, we lived where like we could offer that to someone, you know, we could offer that to ourselves. Um, you know, do you find that there's this importance in being kind and gentle with ourselves as much as how that plays into community?
oh, totally. Yeah. You ever heard the old adage of like, when someone's mad at you, like it has nothing to do with you?
Yeah.
You ever heard that saying?
Yeah.
It's like hurt people hurt people.
Okay.
And so whenever like you're not feeling good in your body, you're gonna manifest that outward. The people that like just don't take care of themselves, you'll notice they're usually a little bit more high strung. They're usually a little
Okay.
bit more crabby. They're usually the ones that are more liable to be the ones you see in like road rage incidents and
Okay.
stuff. It's because
Yeah.
they don't take the time out to listen to themselves and take care of themselves.
Yeah.
But when you are doing your work to ground yourself and keep yourself in a good place, nourishing your body, nourishing your mind, nourishing your spirit, you know, you start to not take everything so personally.
Okay.
And that allows you to be a little bit more regulated when things, go off the hitch.
Yeah. I've experienced that a lot in my life, and my ears were like at one point, you know, my ears and my eyes were like seeking in other people's faces, like their facial expressions and the things like the tone of their voice. Like, does this person like me? Like, can I look for any clue in their like whole aura body, like that's telling me that they don't like me? And when I went to see the real Patch Adams back in July, I had this wonderful experience with this woman, and we stood in front of each other and we shared this moment of telling each other that we love each other. And it was really beautiful because it was easy for me to tell her that I love her. Like that's something I do often in my life. But to hear from this woman that she loves me and to feel the heart, like the love come from the heart, my ears like no longer, they like kind of relaxed and my eyes relaxed, and like they weren't trying to seek this like answer of like, no, like, you know, this person doesn't like me, because the heart space was so loud.
Mm.
And my hope is that, you know, as we continue to create spaces like this where we can be seen in the light and we can hold that space for each other to you know, retreat and do this work on our own, that we can then come together and have those more like really deep, undoubtedly like loving experiences with each other.
Yeah,
And
totally.
so yeah, so what is the hope for yourself and the rest of the world, um, from each of us being kind to ourselves and infusing some of that more meditative music into our lives? And yeah, incorporating that into that daily diet.
Hmm. Well, I hope that everyone can learn how to fill up their own cup.
Yeah.
It's I know it can be hard sometimes and it takes a village, but when we learn that you can't really help anyone until you first fill your cup up,
Yeah.
you know, then we could be a more productive society, I'm sure. If people could learn how to regulate a little bit more and be a little bit more relaxed and maybe get on some schedule that doesn't involve you being in a hurry constantly to
Yeah.
constantly do, maybe be a human being sometimes.
Yeah, like is there a nature component that you feel like is necessary here in our
Totally.
existence? Okay.
Yeah, I think we are of nature. We're not separate from nature. And there's many theories you could think. It's like even though I'm sitting in this house, like with all this backdrop and everything behind me, this is technically nature,
Yeah, very
but it's a
true.
different aspect of nature. It's more of like a processed, synthesized nature.
Okay.
Whereas the nature I speak of is more like how often do you just like go out into your backyard with no shoes and no socks on and just stand in the ground,
Yeah.
you know? Or like how often do you go on a hike in the woods and just like touch a tree?
Yeah.
You
There's
know?
this, yeah, there's this wonderful shaman that I want to practice with one day, and she literally buries you into the ground so you can reconnect with Mother Earth as she's doing, some like Reiki healing and stuff like on your head. And I just find that really beautiful because when I do walk barefoot, I have sometimes I feel like a craving. Like I don't know if you've seen the movie Maleficent or just
Mm.
the story of, Sleeping Beauty. I think it's Sleeping Beauty, the one where like the girl like feels like kind of this calling to go like get her finger like pricked on like the spinning
Oh,
wheel.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I've heard of the movie before.
but
It'll
my
come back.
feet feel like that, and sometimes my hands feel like that too, like they're being called to like connect to Earth, and
Yeah.
I have to do that at times.
Yes, I like to think of it like we're batteries and the earth is our power source.
Oh, I
And
like
so
that.
it's like, you know, you can run your battery down empty and that's fine. Like you can do it. You can do it. We do it. We're doing it right now, you know.
Okay.
Um, but there is there's more stuff coming out, more studies coming out about like the benefits of just grounding, you know,
Okay.
putting your feet in the ground. It's really great for inflammation and stuff. I wish I could remember this documentary I saw years ago. I want to say it was called Sensei, but
Okay.
I tried searching for it recently to share it with someone. I couldn't find it, so it's almost like I don't know, was it a figment of my
Yeah.
imagination now, you
Oh, that's
know?
funny.
But it started off with this guy taking railroad ties and driving them into his backyard, and then he took some copper wires and he'd wrap around them and then bring them all the way up to his house and then line his bed with the copper wires.
Okay.
And he was talking about, you know, before he did that, he had trouble sleeping, he had lots of trouble with inflammation, all kinds of stuff. Once
Okay.
he started doing that, you know, essentially creating a grounding pad for his bed, he's like, the best sleep of my life, inflammation's going away. I don't have so much pain anymore. It's like crazy thoughts are starting to go away. You know, just automatically starting to feel better. And like
Interesting.
eventually they like did that and replicated it in a MRI machine, and you could physically watch the inflammation just dissolving in his body.
It's cool that like we have all the technology that was built through science and medicine, because being able to like use that in Eastern practices, like, or just these holistic practices in general, is just, it gives me hope that like more people will be able to like get past cognitive distortions and be able to actually see like that there it really is there, like it's not
Mhm.
this taboo thing, like it's real, and it's something that can really offer you something that maybe you haven't been able to have access to yet. um
Yeah.
yeah, and I have
And
a big hope for that, because I think a lot of people, I think there's this energy sometimes that's like almost like a hateful kind of energy that like people you know aren't like that they aren't ready for like healing or something. But I think sometimes they just don't know, like, and sometimes we can just offer something, and by just offering, isn't like taking that experience away from them, but offering them something that maybe they haven't learned before. Like, I've learned so much from you in just our short amount of time of just talking just the other day, and I was like, wow, like this is making me interested to learn more about these certain things that we talked about. And so I'm really grateful for that. And I hope that maybe that's other people's experiences too, just by tuning into this podcast, or, speaking to each of us, as we're walking our paths. Jacob, can you speak about an event where you wish someone would have extended loving kindness to you, or you or someone extended loving kindness to another person or a group of people?
oh, I can't speak of like an event in particular,
Okay.
but I'll just say generally, you
Yeah.
know, I think Of course, it would be great if we could all extend like love and kindness towards each other. You know, it's like when I was driving down the road the other day, and I had to, like, I was driving, and there's a person in front of me, and they stopped, so I had to stop.
Okay.
But the person that was tailgating me didn't witness all that, so he really had to stop.
Okay.
And I could tell that really triggered him because he then proceeded to like drive around me, honk his horn, yell a bunch of profanities at me, then pull in front of me and stop on his brakes to be
Yeah.
like, "How do you like that?" You know? And it's like, knowing what I know now, like I feel like, 15-year-old me probably would have gave that dude all my thoughts, and
Right.
honked my horn and would have played into exactly what he wanted to.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I just all I could do is just hit the brakes and just kind of laugh and just be
Yeah.
like, "You know what, dude? Like, I'm so sorry that you're having the day you're having, and like, keep trucking,
Yeah.
I hope you find peace today."
Yeah.
That's all I can really say now, because I just understand that, like, when people are mad, when people are frustrated, and people are just getting, oh, they're so, like, they're not doing well, you
Yeah.
know? And so it doesn't make it an any better transaction for me to feed in that and be like, "You know what? I can be angrier than you.
Right.
I can fight more than you. I will beat you up." It's
Yeah.
like, well, what is this gonna solve? So I feel like this is something that we as humans have probably been doing as a cycle. It's like the cycle of yelling, the cycle of arguing, the cycle of fighting, thinking like, well, if we can just get the other side to submit, then we can be happy. But it's like, maybe that's not the way anymore. Like, we need to
Yeah.
have understanding. We need to understand where the other side is coming from. Why is the other side so damn pissed off?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I learned the definition of the different words like compassion, empathy, loving kindness, and I was like really blown away at like the difference between them. And loving kindness is like a prayer, and I've never thought of it like this, but in your, illustrative example that you just gave, it really demonstrates that, because loving kindness is this I'm well, we're well, or I'm well, you're well, we're well. And
Mhm.
it's this prayer for this well-being of all of us. And so I'm included in that. So, by me retreating and doing the inner work and the healing for myself allows me to be well. For you to, retreat and do the inner healing for yourself allows you to be well. And then this wish for both of us and all of us as a community to be well. And so I find that really beautiful because it's a hopeful kind of intentional energetic word for me, and that's
Mhm.
why I named this loving kindness land, because the loving piece has this hope to it, and this kind of this this hopeful imagination kind of piece to it, where we can kind of set that prayer, that well intention for each other and for ourselves. But kindness is this actionable step that we can take, like you did in that case, where you were able to set that intention and that loving, like, like I have this understanding for this person and what they're going through, and I don't want this to completely ruin my day because I need to keep and maintain my peace and my well-being, so that I can be well for myself and well for others. But then the kindness piece is like, yeah, this whole actionable step that you did in that whole practice. And I want to teach that more to people, because it like draws you back in those intense moments so that you don't follow that reciprocal path of violence, and you can like have enough pause to shift it and then go into a reciprocal path of kindness.
Yeah.
um thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course. And to kind of circle back, I mean, when you're talking about when you go away and you do your work and I go away and I do my work, well, your actions don't happen in a vacuum in those
Yeah.
circumstances. So as you continue to do your work to raise your vibration and I do the
Okay.
same, then the next time when we go out into the world, when
Okay.
people are interacting with our vibration, you don't even have to talk to them. Just walking through the grocery store, you're
Yeah.
vibing at a certain level, and like people are either gonna come up to that, or it's gonna be so dissonant that they're like, it's just too much for me. I got to get away
Yeah.
from it for right now,
Yeah.
kind of thing. But I like that there's like that saying, as above, so below. And it
Okay.
goes for like it goes for so many things, but I'll use it for this example. As
Okay.
you pay more attention to yourself, And as you find your love and as you find your joy and your passion, you'll start to notice that the world around you starts to do the same thing.
Okay, that's beautiful. This
Yeah.
happened in a Target one day. Well, it happened like around the same kind of time. So I must have like taken a shift up. And whether it's up or down or whatever frequency path I went in, but it was around the time that I launched this podcast and I just felt like I was taking steps in a manifesting kind of way. And I was in Target getting like some cords and stuff for my equipment here, and all of a sudden like someone just walks up to me and they just like my hair and they want to start talking, and then come to find out like um I tell them about the podcast series and then they want to subscribe to it, and these kind of events just happened, and I'm like, where did this person come from? Did they just like pop out of like nowhere? Like
Right.
but like I believe exactly what you said, because it's just what I believe in my heart. I know that that's how it works, because it's happened too many times for it to not be that way.
Yeah.
um and it's very magical to me. It's an honor every time. I always I I do a very gratitude kind of spiritual practice for myself each time that it happens, because I'm very grateful for my own healing in that sense, but also for this person, being brave enough to like stand, like to step up to me and like have that experience. And it often like changes my day too, like, and it makes me feel really good. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, kindness is contagious.
You've alluded to this a little bit, but when showing up for yourself and others, how does engaging through loving and kindness make a difference in the relationship circumstances or the outcomes and goals and things that you have for yourself?
Well, shoot, I think you just answered the question for me earlier.
Yeah.
When
All
you
right.
when you express love and kindness towards others and towards yourself, it just makes you feel better.
Yeah. That's
And
awesome.
if you're feeling better, you're probably going to want to be more productive. You're probably going to want to take part in society more. You're probably going to want to get out of bed and be like, life is great. Okay, what are we doing today?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's the catalyst for more production and a happier life.
Thank you, Jacob. I want to see if there's anything else on your heart's mind that you would like to, this space is yours. Anyone that comes on to Loving Kindness Land and Tea Time, a Cup of Loving Kindness podcast, I want this community garden to be your space. So, is there anything else on your heart's mind that you would like to share with the world, or just something that you've been doing for yourself throughout, these last few months, or something that you want to share?
Yeah, I just want to keep reminding people to just go within and find out, who you are and what you want in this life and go for it. You're supported beyond any measure than you can understand. And even when things that are happening to you in life that don't feel good for you, just know that in that moment they're lessons. And when you look back at those lessons years later, you'll see that. You'll start to see that pattern. You could probably even do that now. Start looking back at all the crazy, horrible things that happened to you in your life, and then compare that to where you are now, and really ask yourself, like, was that traumatic event a catalyst for the growth that I've experienced now?
Yeah.
Because all this is experience. There's that old saying, and I know it can be tough and it can be debated, that is, there is no the universe does not see good or evil, it is us that perceives that. And so that's kind of to say that, like, all of this is an experience and it's like deeper and crazier than we ever know. And holy cow, I feel like somebody just started power washing my house all of a sudden.
It's an experience.
Yeah, it's an experience to hear me talking. Like,
Yes.
experience this. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and just like, go for what you want in this life.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jacob.
Well, how about this? We can talk about. I mean, we could talk about the anxiety and see
Yes.
about. So, do you ever practice humming at all?
So I've done some like, oh,
Okay, yeah, that would be like toning or chanting.
okay.
But humming is just mouth closed. You feel it in your nostrils.
So I
Now
kind of
this
have
is
to pull it up a little bit
you
to
can
get it
pull it
up.
up, you can pull it down. Now
Okay.
this is a fun one. Now let's try and see if you can hum from your toes to your head.
Okay.
Now send your mind to your toes and see if you can physically hum there, and
Okay.
really see if you can feel it
Okay.
there.
Okay. I'm gonna close my eyes because it helps me
Yeah,
visualize
totally.
it. Mm. How do I start?
You start, however, I usually like, all right, if you go, if you hum, like practice humming lower and higher, and then just notice how you feel that hum in different parts of your body when you go low to high. Mm.
You know, it's cool when I do from my toes to my head
Yeah,
because I feel it like a sphere.
yeah,
It starts out going from my feet to my head, but instantly it then expands outward like this.
yeah, kind of like your microcosmic orbit. Uh,
Tell me more about that.
oh, so that's old. That's a qigong practice. It's
Okay.
called. I'm still learning about it, so I'm not like the authority on talking about it. But from
Okay.
what I know, so you have in qigong you have your dantian, which is like kind of two fingers below your belly button, and you
Okay.
can think about it in the center of your body too. So like two fingers below your belly button, and then maybe like a finger or two in. So
Okay.
imagine it being like the center axis of your body, and they call that your lower dantian. And by breathing into that, by creating awareness around that and breathing into that, you start to charge your chi. And
Hmm.
so that's kind of like your reservoir and your generator of chi right there. And so
For,
when you start,
sorry.
what's up? No.
For people that don't know, what is chi?
So chi, it's like your life force energy. It's
Okay.
kind of like a way of saying it. It's a tangible energy. Like if you take your fingernails, like the back of your fingernails, like this, and you just rub them together for a little bit, and now
Oh
do you
yeah.
feel do you feel like that tingling at your fingertips?
Yeah.
That's chi.
Okay.
Right there, boom, tangible, right
That's
there.
cool.
And there's all different kinds of practices. You can move your chi ball, you can grow it, you can do certain things, and it's mostly just about awareness. Where the mind flows, where the mind goes, chi flows. And
Okay.
so it's an ancient practice of it was once again, I'm not the authority on this,
Okay.
so I might mess things up.
We're just talking
But
out of our experiences.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's Taoism essentially. So it's a very ancient practice. There's I think it's coming more to the front because it's another thing that is totally free for you to do. And you can YouTube qigong and you'll find a whole host of people just offering like here's 20-minute videos, here's 10-minute videos,
Okay.
here's 15-minute videos. And like even if you're not, like if you're someone that's like, but I can't do like yoga or do like bending, stretching poses, it's okay. I mean, you can just do qigong where you breathe.
Okay.
That's a form of qigong right there, just focusing, breathing into your dantian and building it, imagining that. And so to circle back to the microcosmic orbit, now the microcosmic orbit is when you start to build that dantian, you have to move the energy, and so you kind of orbit it around you. You
Okay.
imagine like you have this ball and it's going all around you and just kind of like cleaning you out,
Yeah.
energizing you, whatever. But it's about the circulation because
Okay.
the energy must move. So I think a lot of the basis of health issues for us in general is stagnation.
Okay.
If you don't have proper blood circulation going on places, that's going to clog arteries, that's going to cause issues. If you don't have proper chi circulation, that could cause issues in many other realms. So it seems like the basis of health in this life is movement. Movement on many levels. You know? And that's what music is too. Music is waves moving, and so to go back to the humming as well is why I was like, if you're having like anxiety, I
Okay.
find that focusing on your hum is a really good thing because it's
Okay.
like you kind of have to think about it, especially
Yeah.
when I'm like, send that hum to your toes. Now you have to think about humming into your toes. You're probably not really thinking about too much else other than like,
Yeah.
can I feel this hum in my toes?
You
you
know what I
know
get irritated at? And I want to hear your perspective on this, but the last so many days, as I'm trying to move through this episode again of, I haven't had anxiety in a while, or I haven't called it that. I've called it more of irritability. But after being in the hospital over Christmas this year, and now trying to like come off of this one med that just had me like really irritable and agitated, I am feeling this anxiety. And so I'm trying to do these practices of my breath work and like different like exercises and stuff to focus on my core and my breathing. And
Mm.
I'm like, damn, I'm gonna have to like do that like all throughout the day. Like what if I'm like in a meeting or something, like how do I like, like is there a way to, is the anxiety always going to be there? Will these practices help to build me up so that it's not so profound throughout my day? And then maybe I can get through maybe the first half of the day before I need to, do another hum. Where like right now, I feel like every 10 minutes I have to do a humming or a breath
Okay.
work kind of exercise.
I'm also going to precipice. I'm not a doctor. I
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
I'm not a professional in medicine. But I think it is a maintenance thing. I think there's a
Okay.
lot of people that
That's
when
what I
they
think
begin
too.
when we begin this health journey, depending on where we're coming from, there's people coming from many aspects of it. There is a certain level of like catching up that you need to
Yeah.
do to like get yourself back to being regulated.
Okay.
But I think after a while, with continued practice, it will start to prolong. You will find yourself being like, "Whoa, I just went a whole day and I felt great all day today." But yeah, there's tons of new practices and stuff coming out. One that's really great that my roommate's really been getting into and trying to get me into is ice baths.
Okay. That sounds nice.
That's and I
Yeah,
was
that
just
would be
watching
good.
this video the other day. It was like if you're experiencing anxiety, just go to the sink, get some cold water, and
Yeah.
splash it on your face immediately.
That's
And that
that's a part of like some Zen practices because I would teach dialectical behavioral therapy as a clinical social worker, and it works on the vagus nerve and
yeah,
helps to calm down and bring us into the rest and digest system pretty quickly.
yes,
So anytime that, we had a client that was dysregulated or like um, escalated into some agitation, we would always implement that as a way to help, you know, create some soothing and help bring down their nervous system when they were basically out of control at that, like
yeah,
they didn't have control of their nervous system at that point. So like by doing that, they could then access other skills after we implemented some ice on them. You know what's
nice.
funny? I'm
What's
looking
that?
at your background, and at certain times, it starts to look like a spiral, and the spiral is coming outward this way. And I was thinking, like, as you were talking about, you know, that eventually it will come to a point where it's prolonged. And as like the spiral's getting bigger, I'm like, yeah, that's my growth. That's my life pattern. Like
Yeah,
started out as like this itty bitty baby when I like was born, or even like in my mom's womb like coming into this human experience, and then it just spiraled outward with all these other moments in life until, and sometimes like I've experienced anxiety before in my life, so this is here I am again
yeah,
experiencing it, but experiencing it differently.
yeah.
It
And
still has that intensity, but it's different.
I think it's important to sit with those feelings. I think
Okay.
what I witness with a lot of people, myself included, is sometimes we experience something that we don't like. It's not comfortable. So our immediate reaction is to, I gotta get, I want to get rid of this. I don't like this. I want to get rid of
Oh,
it. So like here, I'm gonna go drink. I'm gonna go smoke. I'm gonna go play video games. I'm gonna do whatever I can to escape this feeling.
okay.
But our feelings, our emotions, I like to think of them as like our compass. It's like our
Yeah.
emotions they're guiding us on our life path. And so when you sit with those, when you sit with that anxiety, like my understanding of anxiety is it's thoughts of the future. Anxiety is thoughts of the future and depression is thoughts of the past.
Okay.
So when you're anxious, ask yourself like what is it that you're anxious about? It's probably something like a future event, like oh I'm about to go into this meeting, it's a big deal. I'm really scared. What if I mess it up? Blah 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 blah. Future.
Yeah.
So it's like how can you get yourself back to the present? Because in the presence, it's all love, it's all kindness, you
That's
know?
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my anxiety now comes from like the moments right before this, like the next moments here. Like,
Yeah, like
am I
what am
gonna
I gonna
mess
do?
up? Am I gonna say like, do I have any words? Like, instead
Mm,
of just moving out of intention, instead of just moving out of just this love that's here, um, which I'm
yeah.
starting to do more. So thank you for being here and like offering that, and even just being kind enough to say like, hey, like let's just keep chatting and keep rolling on recording because you know I could have cut it shorter, because I didn't have any more questions to ask because that's all I prepared for. That's all I was like, you know, to some extent, prepared, like overcompensated my anxiety for. But
Mm,
now, like that I'm just, talking, this is
yeah,
weird,
now we're
you
just
know,
flowing.
well, it's a little weird for me because I don't have that script, right? So like my
Yeah.
future thoughts are here like, oh, I'm gonna mess up or whatever. But I actually like this. I like being the vulnerable side to myself,
Mm,
just talking. I
yeah.
like talking with a friend about these like really cool things. I like having it be very candid, and I want people to know that this space can be that in my production, I want to be known for these candid moments where we can just talk and just open up
Yes.
and yeah.
Because this is the present moment. This is us
Yeah,
being present, you know?
yeah, drinking
Thank
our
you for
tea.
being
Yeah,
yeah, that's right. Thank you for being vulnerable and being present with me. You know,
yeah, ditto.
this is a lesson I've learned with music
Okay,
is the presence. Like when you're playing music, you can't be thinking about other stuff. You
yeah.
know, it's like you can get to a certain point when you're like playing, you know, when you have songs like 100% down where you could catch yourself like being at a gig and be like, "Oh, did I do my laundry this morning? Okay, I got to well, dude, I don't think I paid that bill. Basil. Do, 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 do,
Okay,
do. All right, well, let me get up back to that, you know. But like when you're doing like for me, I really like jazz and
okay.
just the basis of improvisation, which is what we're doing right now. We're having an improvisational, you know,
Yes,
song right now,
that's
and
cool.
it forces you to be present when you're in that realm of improvisation where you're in that moment where like I have to listen to what the other instruments are doing because I am a part of this conversation now. And like you wouldn't just be having a conversation with someone talking about snow and you're going to be like, well, let's talk about sea urchins, you know, or something like that. And it's like, well, this is completely off topic. Like, we can do that, you know,
Yeah,
and other people can choose to be like, yeah, let's talk about sea urchins. Okay, this is great. Yeah. And
we were
so,
talking
so
about that the other day a little bit
yeah,
with just all the different things that kind of come up into our like minds and how there's all these different paths that we can go down in our like
yes.
conversations, but like
Everything, everywhere, all at
yeah.
once.
Ooh, I like that. Everything, everywhere, all at once.
I can't take that's a movie. I took that from a movie.
Yes, but that's so funny to me because it happens so much in my life, and I feel like I've been like people can see me as too much sometimes because of that because I'm so excited about all those things that pop in at once. Um, and I
Yeah,
want
there,
to go down all those paths because I just think that they all have worth and they're like beautiful. But with each person, we all have only so much time.
yeah.
So it's like I gotta go down one and like just radically accept that I'm not gonna hit those this moment with these people.
Maybe not yet.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like in this moment, like,
Yeah,
and that's okay that like but like it's kind of not okay like for a second in me because it's like I'm so excited. So I
yeah.
really gotta like I gotta shake it off like Taylor Swift says.
You gotta physically shake it off.
Yeah.
You know, that is a thing. They were doing studies on, I think it was like maybe gazelles and zebras, but they were seeing that whenever like a gazelle or something would get chased by a lion, if it was
Okay.
to survive, the first thing it would do immediately was just violently shake its body.
Oh my gosh.
And so the theory behind it, there might be more science behind it. I'm not exactly sure, but it's they're literally shaking that trauma off of their body. And there's this is talked about in qigong. This is talked about in shamanic
Reiki.
practices and
Yeah.
Reiki, all kinds of stuff. The concept of like shake, shake it off, shake it out. You know, whatever you have sticking to you, shake it off. You
I love
know.
that you bring that up because I've gone through level 2 Reiki training, and we would like do different modalities, and sometimes we would like pick, you know, like some of the energy out, just like very like pinpointed, like when it gets stuck in a certain area, or we would do more like sweeping away of energy. But I
Hmm.
didn't realize this like in the last month or so that I've been shaking like it out. Like I would
Yeah.
kind of scream sometimes, not like scream real loud, but like I would be like, "Ah, mom, I gotta like shake it out."
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it felt better afterwards, but sometimes it still felt like I couldn't get it out. And that's
Mm.
when maybe like I'm thinking that's when maybe in those moments I need to do more of sitting with it and doing more of that qigong practice of creating that microcosm. Would you call it a micro?
Oh, the microcosmic orbit,
Yeah,
man.
because I feel like I need to move it out of a stagnation place first before I can shake it off.
You got to
Um,
circulate the energy for
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a whole host of practices. I do recommend, yeah, like sitting with it, like physically, there's like parts work where you just ask yourself,
okay,
like like if something's hurting in your body, talk to that part, like, hey, what's up? Why do you hurt? And then when you sit in that silence, you'll start to find that like it talks back.
yeah,
It's like, oh, there was this thing that happened when you were like 5 and you never really resolved it, and now I'm back,
yeah,
and I don't feel good. I'm trying to protect you, but really, like the things that I used to do to protect you when you're 5 don't work anymore when you're 31 years old
right,
now, and I don't realize that anymore.
yeah,
Okay, well, thank you. Maybe we could go back to the light now.
yeah. There's this beautiful book by Amanda Gilbert called Kindness Now, and she really describes like loving kindness in a profound way to me. And it's like what you just kind of spoke about, like that loving kindness is kind of like calling it out, like in the moment, like where we feel those certain aspects, or maybe we act in this certain way or we have this certain behavior and we call it out, and by doing that we learn about ourselves, and we're being vulnerable with ourselves, and that's practicing loving kindness with ourselves, and having that, going through the challenge of what that feels like to, like, maybe I hurt someone's feelings and then I gotta like sit with it instead of avoiding it and trying to maybe just push it away like I didn't do that, and actually
Mm,
sitting down and being like, okay, what was going on, what was surfacing for me. And that's really, what she describes as loving kindness. um
yeah.
these difficult moments, it's not so much, just practicing love and kindness. It's like it's like I think of it like being a love warrior to yourself, and being ready to go up against these really intense emotions that we feel sometimes.
Yeah, and it's kind of like you were kind of describing like radical acceptance as
Yeah,
well. Like
yeah,
taking a deep look at that part of you that hurt someone,
yeah,
and being like, okay, I did that. I had to accept that. How can I change that now? Because you chose this life,
right,
and I'm saying you to whoever's watching, not just to
okay,
you, to me, to
yeah,
everyone. Like
yeah,
whether we think we did or not, we chose this life,
yeah.
and even if you want to be on the team that's like, I didn't choose to be here, I didn't choose this, that's okay, because you're here now and you are in control of your life.
Yeah,
So you must take radical acceptance of when things aren't going well. It is your fault to a degree,
yeah,
and you have to accept the parts that you had to play in for why things aren't going well for you,
right,
and change it. You can always
I
change
agree.
it. That's the
Yeah,
beauty of it.
yeah, right now in this
Especially
moment we can choose a different path.
exactly. And that's that scenario where every moment we're always on a fork in the road. And it's
Yeah,
not even just like a two-prong fork,
no,
it's like a 50-prong fork.
yeah,
There's a million different things I could do in this next breath that will
yes,
completely change the directory of this conversation, of my life, of your life, of whoever's watching's life.
yes,
It's
yes.
it's it's miraculous. It really
Yeah,
is.
it's like there's a clean slate always. um I I try to share this because it does feel like when mental health got really strong, the bipolar got really strong, whether that's a reality or not. Um, for me, it does feel like a reality, and the healing and the certain treatments that I've gone on have seemed to help to some extent. But when it's intense, it often feels like I'm in quicksand and that there isn't, 50 forks in the road. But when I can get to a level of clarity, and oftentimes, some of these more breathwork experiences can help me get there, I can start to see more that like the birds are still in the sky and the sun's there, and oh my gosh, like there's the blue sky. It's like it's not just the storm cloud that's like in my view.
Yeah.
And I find that really beautiful because more and more, I don't know what I was trying to say. I lost my train of thought. Damn it.
Well, let's see here. You were talking about when you're in those spaces, like when you're in those dark spaces, it can be hard to get out of those. But you
Yeah.
start to find the more and more that you start to focus on like the birds and the beauty of the world. I feel like you're kind of going in that direction. Like if you
Yeah.
start to focus on the beauty that's around you, you can kind of pull yourself out of those places.
Yeah, that I start to see that like there's more, that there's more paths, there's more solutions. I'm not just stuck in the quicksand.
Yeah.
That it really is a clean slate at that point.
Yeah.
That, in this moment I have all these choices I can choose. I'm not stuck. But
Exactly.
you know, 10 steps back before that, it felt like it was all hope was lost.
Yeah.
I don't hate on those moments of going to the darkness. Um, and I call it that because I call these corners very like the corners of like the dark corners of the universe where like I need that contrast of light and dark to help me see how much light and love there is in my life.
Yeah.
I used to hate on it and have a lot of shame for it, and different suicide attempts that I had. And I'm not saying that I wish that upon myself or anyone else to go there, but when it happens I don't hate myself for it. I
Yeah.
just radically accept that that's what's happening, and how do I get myself out of this, um and I attribute a lot of that to the breath work that I've done.
Mm.
Breath is another one, like the ice cubes, and I'm sure music is like this too, that it works on our vagus nerve. And I know
Yes.
certain frequencies do that.
Yeah. That's when I was getting you to hum earlier. That's the same
Oh,
principle. So your hum
okay,
is literally vibrating your vagus nerve. And
that's awesome.
when you work on sending it up, low hum kind of gets lower to your body. You'll start to experiment with the lower the hum, the
Okay,
lower you can feel it go in your body. The higher the hum, the higher it goes up your
okay.
body. So you can literally massage yourself from the inside up with that hum. And you can just have a practice where you just keep sending it up and down. And like sometimes it'll be funny. Like I do
Yeah,
this with some people, and they always tell me that like that was beautiful because the only thing I thought about was the hum. That was the
yeah,
first like 5 minutes where I didn't think about 500,000 thoughts at the
yeah.
same time. I was just thinking about the hum. And like some people, they'll start cracking up because it's kind of
Right.
funny when you're like,
Yeah.
mm,
Right.
it's just funny. And
And it's
but
cool
it's
too because it's also helped my like libido, and I know like sometimes that has felt closed off, in these days where I got larger and just wasn't, practicing as much. Well, practicing, I don't know why I call it that, but like, it was funny because when I started doing that and I started doing breath work and I started humming, it was like it allowed it to be more pleasurable and a nice experience. And I just share that too because like that's part of my self-soothing to some extent sometimes, is that sexual part of life, that we all can experience at times.
that same kind of energy
That
when you're
that
messing
vagus
with.
nerve, yeah.
Yeah, when you're playing with like qigong and you're humming and your breath work, like it's all charging that certain kind of energy, and it's you can
Okay,
think of it as chi. You can also think of it as your sexual energy, which is the energy
okay,
of creation. It's all over
okay,
the universe. It's some of the most
yeah,
potent energy ever. We experience. That's why there's so much. That's why you see sex around so much because it's
yeah,
very powerful.
yeah,
And it's used not in the best ways in our
right,
society, especially.
yeah.
Um,
I agree.
But there you can see why they do it so much, why it's so popular. You know,
Yeah.
there's something very powerful and very profound to it.
Yeah, and it's cool that it came during this time of creating just a lot of different movement in my life and helping me get through different things. And I attribute it to those different chakra areas in my body.
Yeah.
And creativity to me is where a lot of the vulnerability lies. So um, I want to go a little bit deeper. I don't know if you know much about like the chakras.
Yeah, with the
Really
I
go
mean,
where-
the chakras are great. Like, you know, your root chakra is that's like your center, that's your grounding right there. If your root chakra is strong, then like you kind of have more of a sense of who you are and what you're doing in this world. And then that starts to build into the other ones. I was listening to like a documentary on chakras, and I thought it was interesting that eventually this person got to the point that the chakras they're not real per se.
Okay.
It's these like I don't know if it was Taoism or if it was maybe before that, but they started to discover that like it's more about the meridians that are tied to the chakras. The meridians are real, but they had to create because they know that like if you start to imagine things, it does different stuff for you. So like the whole premise of where the mind goes, the chi flows, you can
Yeah.
kind of think about this with the chakras. When you're envisioning like breathing into your root chakra and the color red, and you're breathing into that and maybe even doing specific practices that are said to be tailored to that, then you're
Okay.
thinking about that. But what you're really doing is you're placing your mind in a part of your body that a bunch of meridians go through and go to. So you're activating those meridians.
Okay.
And that's like the real magic and the real stuff behind it. Is it's
Okay.
like by focusing on these chakras, what you're really doing is activating all these meridians that go through your whole entire body. And when you're opening those up, you're creating that open channel for your energy to just circulate, just like your blood, to just circulate. And that's good. You want everything to be circulating, moving all the time.
I'd like to learn more about the body graph.
I think it's super interesting. I went like a few years ago, I kind of went like really deep down the rabbit hole with it. And now I've forgotten a lot of the stuff I learned,
Okay.
but I do like that it is kind of like you said, it's like a roadmap. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, it's what it is. It's the epitome of like everything combined. It's astrology, numerology, the
Okay.
Chinese zodiac. It's like all of that stuff
Hold on.
put together into this one system. So I want to say it's probably the newest like tell you about yourself kind of system.
Okay.
But I like that it kind of offers strategies for you. Whereas I feel like a lot of other things are just like, this is who you are. This is
Yeah.
what you do. This is what you're supposed to do.
You're horrible.
You know, kind of thing. Yeah, it's just like, all
You're
right,
amazing. Yeah.
today's gonna suck and birds cry.
Yeah.
Like,
Good
okay,
luck.
great, you know. And whereas the body graph thing's more like, hey, if you're feeling this, go here. Try
Okay.
this. This is like for me, it's like it says my thing is to respond. So it's
Okay.
like, and I look back at that and it's kind of interesting how it seems to line up for me, where it's like,
Yeah.
I don't initiate things. Like I don't go and create stuff and like initiate it. I have to wait for the like opportunity essentially.
Okay.
So it's like I put out an energy to the universe. It's like, give me stuff to do.
Okay.
And the universe is like, okay, but it's my job to siphon through the stuff that the universe gives me and only go for the things that are like the hell yes. So I have to like deeply intuit in my body. If it's not a hell yes, just shouldn't do it at all, you know, kind of thing. Like
That's cool.
it's like it won't really work out so well for you, as opposed to the things where I'm like, hey, do you want to go eat Mexican food tonight? Like, hell yeah, I do.
Yeah.
You know, so kind of like that. So I find that really interesting, and I've been playing with
Me too.
that. I've been playing with that last year, and it's just like, yeah, it's kind of working for me. You know, it's like I'm not. Every once in a while I get into these modes of like, okay, I gotta do. Like I've been sitting around too long and nothing's really happening. But it's like that's part of the patience is like the waiting, you know. And
Yeah.
the next thing I know, like I'll wake up the next day and be like, hey, do you want to do this gig? Do you want to do that gig? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And it's like, okay, cool. Yeah, I like that stuff. All right,
Yeah.
I'll try that out. You know, now
Yeah.
buy me some time until the next period where I'm sitting around waiting for the next thing to do. You know, but like I've had instances in my past where I feel like I would like be like, I want to do this, you know, and then like I'll tell everybody that I'm gonna do this thing and like all that, and then the day will come and I don't end up doing the thing. Something,
Okay.
whatever will happen, and it won't
Right.
happen. You know,
Yeah.
those are the things that like I've initiated. I didn't wait
Okay.
for them to respond to them. I was just like, I want to do this,
Yeah.
and like it'll just like it won't work or it won't be as like cool as I thought it would be. It'd be one of
Okay.
those things,
Yeah.
as opposed to like I'm just sitting in my room. And it's not like I'm just like sitting waiting for like a call. It's like you could be waiting for a specific thought to come in. You know, that could be something that you could
Yeah.
respond to. It doesn't have to always be like someone coming out of the woodworks being like, "Hey, do you want this job?" Or "Hey, do you want to do this?" It's like it could be a thought like, "Hey, do you feel like stretching right now?" Like, "Oh, I do feel like stretching right now. Yeah, that's great. Okay, I'll do that." You know, and then it leads you to the next thing.
That's funny. I feel like I am kind of like the opposite to that. Like I my like I guess human design is to play like big in the sense of like creation and manifesting.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like I'm like forcing it. It feels like these things, these visions come to mind, and that's what I create. And when I
Mm-hmm.
don't align with it, is when I get into some sticky, like messy stuff that just doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
I often will like take a job that doesn't doesn't line up with like that, and then the next thing you know, I'm wanting to resign from that job because it's like just not anything. It's not playing big enough. Playing big enough in the sense of what these visions are.
Yeah.
Um, and so by doing this podcast and stuff, it's really more about stepping into that vision. Um, and this is really what I'm being called to do as a conduit of the
Yeah.
chi energy that I bring to this space. Um, I feel that more and more, and when I align with it, it's like, damn, like that feels good. Like that's what you're called to do. Like do it.
Right.
Stop trying to live for someone else.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense if you're the manifester. That's the definition of manifestation. You
Yeah,
bring it into reality.
yeah. I got my little magic wand.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, yes,
nice.
yes.
Is that the one that like does it shoot the little paper balls, the little fire
No,
paper?
this one doesn't. This one's made out of real wood. It's made out of cedar, represents holy ascent and wisdom, and then it has a quartz for energy and positive vibration,
Oh,
and
cool.
it's called the Atron.
Nice.
I got it at a Cheap Tricks tattoo shop. They have like a little shop
Okay.
next to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. And good magic wand. Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I want
Manifester
some
does
more,
look
and I'm
that.
gonna get some fairy wings so that I can truly be the loving kindness fairy on my show.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that'd be cool. You could work that into your backdrop where you're
Yeah.
just like sitting, you have like
Ooh.
these wild animated wings going back
Oh, I like that.
and forth. Oh
That's a
yeah.
good idea. I didn't think about doing it digitally, but that could help. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be really
Yeah.
playful.
Yeah.
You could be like flying over lands and stuff, just
Yes.
sprinkling.
I want to create a cartoon that could
That
be
would
like teaching different things.
Oh yeah, that would make
Eventually,
sense.
like, yeah, like I want to be a film producer and create films of all this kind of
Yeah.
positivity stuff. Yeah.
You experiment. I mean, I guess you created that backdrop, right? So you
Yeah.
experiment
Yeah.
with a little bit of what do you call
It's
it?
actually my tattoo. And
Is
then
that what
with
this
the
says? Love and kindness.
yeah,
Okay.
with the little
Nice.
flower. And then
Yeah.
that flower is called anthurium, and it's like the flower that symbolizes loving kindness. And then yeah, I got the tattoo, and then he gave me the file, and then I digitalized it to that kind of bluish purple mosaic style background.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
been fun, Jacob.
Yeah, of course. Always a
Thanks
good
for
time.
being here. Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
yeah.
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Thank you for everything. See you later.
Yeah. Thank you too. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
I've lived it too. Shadows only catch us from behind. Let's turn and face them. Switch on the light. Never mind the cracks you try and